Welcome to the Going Mach 5 podcast. I'm your host, Rashad Kenneth Thompson. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Today, we are in the $22 million studio, and sitting across from me is a fellow podcaster, an explorer of all things new, and the second most beautiful person that I know. I would say a people's advocate, but she didn't want to say that. She's the voice of the voiceless.
Yeah.
Clairissa.
Yes, Clairissa.
And I said your name properly, right?
Yes, you did a good job.
How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
It's another day in paradise. I like to say that when white people ask me. I say it's another day in paradise, and they love that.
Yeah.
Because I like it because sometimes I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm being very, very genuine. You just never know, depending on the day.
Words of affirmation are very important. So
I think that's my love language.
Mm-hmm. Money follows me.
Really?
You know?
Is that I tell you, I did that test, find out your love languages.
Okay.
And the first time I did it, it was so wrong.
Really?
Like it told me that I love gifts.
Oh.
I don't like gifts.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy me nothing. I like giving gifts. I like acts of service. But
Okay.
no, gifts,
Yeah.
I'm fine. I promise you I have a penis. What are your love languages?
What are my love languages? Definitely acts of service is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily what you're doing for me or what you can do for me, but how you do it. You know, like if you say you love me, or do you follow that with action? You know, do you spend time with me? I guess that also goes into spending time.
Sure.
So, you know, those are my two. Anything else after that kind of just follows to whatever the comfort is of the person.
Do you have a lot of luck in terms of, anyone who knows this podcast knows this is not a dating podcast.
No.
I would rather shoot myself in the head than talk about dating.
I wouldn't be in this seat.
Yeah. Do you find that to be something that you lack when you are dating with intention? Because I'm assuming you're dating with intention now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to assume that because you told me that.
Yeah, I am.
Do you find that when you're dating with intention and you meet a potential partner, in the rare occasions that you are putting yourself out there, do you find that they are falling short in that way of matching words with actions?
I do. I think a lot of people try to lead more so with gifts. And I think that just depends on the caliber of the person that you're going for. So I guess from my appearance and the way I carry myself, a lot of people that I come across think that they can buy me. Yeah, so I get a lot of offers with gifts or dates or, you know, different things and stuff like that. So it's just like, that's not my love language. So of course you're starting off wrong. When I tell you things don't matter to me, time matters to me, you know, the experience matters to me. So, you know, a lot of people lead a lot different, but I've also come to the realization that even though that is my love language, a lot of people lead with their love language. So if they are more comfortable with purchasing things, of course they're going to lead with that.
Sure.
And then also from their experiences, if that's something that they've had great luck with, then of course they're going to continuously do that until someone, you know, brings that to their attention. So, yeah.
So you have people, what is it about you, like looks wise, where they just assume, oh, she likes stuff being bought for her, and that will be all I need to do. That's all the work I need to do.
I would definitely say the way I carry myself. I dress very unique, but in a sense, original.
Okay.
So a lot of things, and I think that is intentional. I don't like to buy things that I see other people wearing. So anything that I, you know, wear or things like that would just be for Clairissa, you know? So I think a lot of people see that and they're just like, oh, you know, she looked like she might have some money, you know, and I'm a regular person. I'm a middle-class person, you know, things like that. So I think it's all about your mindset. And I also place myself in the company of people that are, in a sense, wealthy in their mindset as well as their pockets. So I think when you see me around those type of events, you know, people are like, okay, I can't come half step and I gotta come with a little something. Instead of, you know, just naturally being themselves, they think they have to step out and, you know, lead with those attributes. When in reality, hey, we can go get coffee, we can go for a hike. You know, I'm that type of girl.
Has your dating been impacted by you being a pastor's child?
Has it been impacted by me being a pastor's child?
Yeah, like in terms of what you look for. Or maybe possibly when they find out that you're a PK.
Yeah.
That I told you off mic my experience with a PK.
Yeah, you did.
So do they make the assumption?
I think that's multi-layered. Because that's not something that I share off bat, that I am a pastor child. Because number one, I'm a child of God outside of being a pastor's child. So I think those are two separate things, but people look at that as you're a pastor's child, so this is how you should carry yourself. But there's this stigma within the world that, oh, you're a pastor's child, you're a freak, you're rebellious, you're disobedient, you're all of those things. When in reality, everybody has those phases that they go through. I've been rebellious at one point, I've been disobedient, and I think everybody should be a freak because you have things that you like. And I think everybody, should be in tune with themselves, willing to explore when they find someone that they're comfortable with.
Of course.
And so when you do have that flexibility, I guess you can say, of course, that those layers would definitely come out. So I don't necessarily think that has an impact on that portion. However, I'm at a different point in my life as well.
Of course.
Being young, of course, you explore and things of that such. So I did what I did when I was young. And that doesn't have anything to do with me being a PK. It just has something to do with me being a young adult.
Sure.
And wanting to explore. So I think those are two separate, things. But I think of all things, my values is what definitely carries into my relationships. And that does have to do with me being a pastor's kid.
What are some of your values?
Some of my values, I'm very big on integrity.
Okay.
And that's something that I carry myself on any job I've been on, any friendships, any relationships. That is something that, anyone that has met me can definitely speak to. I'm a woman of my word. What they like to say, word is bond. And I live by my bond. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to fulfill it. So that's number one, something that is a part of my values. Also, being true to yourself. Don't change just because, others aren't in tune with that or don't like that. Change because you want to change, change because you want to grow or move on from things. But if, you're an asshole, then just be an asshole, be an asshole wherever you are. But if that's something that you want to change, change it. So, I'm a person that no matter who you are, it is what it is. I'm going to respect that. So yeah, that's a few things that come with my values. I have others, but that's, two that I'm very big on.
I mean, integrity is important, especially when you're talking about like being a mindful person in society in general.
Yeah.
It's very difficult because I think a lot of times, I don't want to say people don't understand because I don't know what they do or don't understand, but there's this misnomer with what integrity really is and what it means. Integrity to me is really like when you're in a position to do something or you have to uphold a certain standard, even when you might not be a benefactor of that situation. I played golf with a person. I played mini golf with a person.
Okay.
And at this particular mini golf place, we were on one of the last few holes. And and this might be a small example of integrity, but it was integrity. One of the last few holes, you have to spin a wheel. And whatever the wheel says, you have to do for your turn. I spun the wheel and it said that I had to try the first shot with the putter behind my back. So I did that. All right, cool. She spun the wheel and it said that the person you're playing against has to be an obstacle for your first shot. So she was like, all right, just pick where you're going to be an obstacle. I said, all right, cool. And I stood literally, if this is where the ball was, my foot was right here.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, that's where you're going to stand? I said, yep, I'm the obstacle.
Yeah.
She was like, yo, that's not fair. I said, that's the rule.
That's the rule.
So I stood there. She hit the ball. It went off my foot and barely went 2 inches to the right. And she immediately went to go hit it again. And I stopped her and I said, wait.
It's not your turn.
No, it's still her turn.
Okay.
But I said, wait. I have to get out of the way now. This was only for the first shot. And she was like, no, this is for like, you're just the obstacle. And I said, no, look at it again. And she looked. She was like, oh shit, you're right. And I said, as much as I want to win this game, because this game is so close, And as much as I don't want you talking shit to me if you win, I said, I need to have the integrity right here.
Yeah.
And I need to get out of the way because these are the rules. I love your nails, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I did. And then she ended up doing well in that hole and counting down the score. We got all the way down to the last hole. And I had to clutch up. And I did, as one does.
Yeah.
MJ in the fourth.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I won.
All right.
So I don't know if cosmically having integrity right there, maybe that was okay. Well, you showed some integrity here, and then the end game was that you won, but you won. That's a very small microcosm of when you're talking about integrity. But I think in relationships in general, I try my best to be as open as I possibly can. Anyone who watches this podcast knows I hate talking about relationships and stuff like that. But
what do you mean by open? Because a lot of guys say that, but openness comes with a few stipulations. Like if you didn't ask me,
no,
and I didn't answer. So what do you mean by open?
Open is in open dialogue.
Okay.
I do my best to not only tell you, hey, like you can talk to me, it's fine.
Yeah.
I do it through action.
Okay.
Especially with women in a society like we live in today. Even now, people want to pretend like it's different. And maybe it is for certain people, but there are still times where women will feel judged for wanting a certain thing or feeling some type of way.
Absolutely.
So what I make a point of doing, whether it's just a love interest or whether it's a girlfriend or someone I'm just talking to, whatever, is, hey, like I'm very open and I'm very cool. You just have to talk to me. Even if it's a reality that I'm not going to like, but please just talk to me.
Okay.
I've gone on a date with a woman and she's told me after the date, like, hey, I really enjoyed our date. I have to be honest. And I'm expecting it wasn't a love connection. But and that's happened occasionally.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's been, okay, look, I have this situation that I'm in right now.
Okay.
And I really think there's a future for us and there's potential for us. But I really need to close this chapter of my life first before I really focus on you. Okay. And one woman told me, she was like, I'm not expecting you to wait for me, but I just want to be very clear with you that I did enjoy our time together. I said, cool, situate yourself. And I said, come back to me when you're situated. And if I'm still available, we could try to make something happen. Yeah. I think openness is very important. I've said this to people. Me going to therapy really made me understand how complex I was as a person. And it made me give more grace to other people because I understand how complex other people are. And I understand that people fall short. Yeah. And I'm not perfect. People use that phrase as an excuse to do stupid stuff. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying my best. And as long as there's an effort from the person I'm dealing with to try their best, I'm cool with it. What I always say is we want new problems. We don't want old problems.
Yeah. Now, by effort, would you continue as well at this phase in your life off of potential as well with that effort?
It depends on what it is. Okay. Because I will never tell a woman you have to come to me completely perfect because that's not realistic. Yeah. I will say come to me healed to an extent. Okay. To a great extent. If you got some trauma that you're dealing with, and you're not, or maybe that you don't even know that you're dealing with.
Yeah, because a lot of people, have that hidden trauma.
If you have a relationship where you had an ex-boyfriend that was just terrible to you, and now you're trying to deal with me, and you're looking for any little thing that will show, oh, you're just like him. Yeah. Oh, you're not healed yet because I'm a different person. There have been a number of times in relationships where I've had a woman do something to me that reminded me of a previous situation that I was not a fan of. And I have to remind myself, it's a different person. Yeah. Like, this is a whole different person. You need to work through this. This is a Rashad problem. Yeah. It's not a her problem. I think working on yourself consistently is very important. Because then and only then can you compliment someone. Because the goal is not to complete someone. Because ain't nobody gonna complete me.
Absolutely.
I'm good. Yeah. Like, I don't want this to be the case. But hypothetically, if I never got married and never had children, really, if I never had kids, that would be a major disappointment to me. Just my ego, but because I feel like I'm too good of a man to not be a father. And I feel like I'm too good of a man to not be married personally, and really not in that order.
That's a common trend. A lot of women and men that should have kids end up not having kids. That's a common trend.
I know a few of them. We're just like, no, you need to. I dated a woman who was like that.
Okay.
She was very keen on never having kids.
Really?
But she was the type that needs to have children. And I say needs because she would be such a great mother. And it wasn't until we got together that she was like, oh, I could see myself having children with you.
Yeah, that's very responsible. I think that whenever you do see a future, or especially thinking of something such as kids, you should want to, see yourself with that person and raising them, because, I think it's irresponsible that a lot of people create these broken homes by, having these situationships and, not being responsible, taking those necessary precautions to protect themselves. And you end up having a kid, and now it's just like, I can't stand this person, when all along you never liked this person.
No.
You like the benefits.
You have to vet people, especially when you're talking about something as serious
and people don't think that it's serious. Having a child with someone is a very serious thing.
Clairissa, let me tell you something.
Okay.
There is no one on this planet. I say this all the time, and I love it.
Let me hear
I say it with a big smile. There is no one on this planet that I have to deal with.
Absolutely.
I can walk away from literally anyone. I love my mother to
not even
death.
your mama. You don't got to deal with her either.
I love my mother. We had a type of falling out a couple of months ago. Now, it only lasted a couple of weeks. But for us, that's a long time.
Yeah.
And our falling out was just rooted in, you don't know how to talk to me, Mom.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 40. And there's just this part of my brain that I don't want to say broke, but it was just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just not. And eventually we had a conversation where I told her very directly and very bluntly, with no anger or anything in my voice, hey, you do this, you can't admit this, you don't do this.
Yeah.
I said, you've always been like that since I was a child. I was like, that's why I was closer to Dad, and this is why I felt like X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I accept who you are.
Yeah.
But I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Not even Mom. I ain't got to deal with Mom if I don't have to. I love my mother. I still deal with her, obviously.
And it's your responsibility to protect that boundary, because you want to keep yourself in a healthy space.
Yes. My stepfather was very keen, because we're very different, generationally different.
Okay.
He was like, well, you got to understand, your mother's just like that. My mother's like that. And I said, I don't have to understand anything.
Yeah.
There's no incentive for her to be a better person or learn how to communicate with me if she continues to talk to me that way. If I just accept it, there's no incentive. I say people are like dogs. You have to train them on how to treat you. I tell women that when I got homegirls that are in new relationships, I'm just like, hey, don't put up with the stuff you put up with last time. I was like, because he gonna try to get away with whatever he can get away with. And it's not even always malevolent. It's always, I need to understand where the boundaries are. Now, me as a person in my relationships, I know where the boundaries are. And if they're comical, like if I can make a joke, I will cross those boundaries.
Oh boy.
Oh, for sure. Oh, this is where the boundary is?
You definitely have to have someone that can withstand that.
Like if I can cross those boundaries and know like for example, I've had a girlfriend that she would get really angry over certain things.
Okay.
Just seething angry. And one time she was really, really mad, and she was sitting down. And was she sitting down? It was something she was doing. And I said, you look so little when you're sitting down. I said, stand up. She was like, what? I was like, stand up. And she stood up. I was like, you look big. Now you big mad. And she was like, that is not fucking funny. And I was like, it's hilarious, actually. Now the truth is, it's not funny.
You're a little dangerous.
But I was like, it's okay. We're just joking. We're just playing. It's cool. But I am a habitual line stepper in the spirit of lightening the mood, not in the spirit of diminishing how you feel.
Yeah.
It is very arrogant to tell people how to feel, especially in relationships.
Absolutely.
The last thing I want to do is make my partner's feelings feel invalidated. I can have the opinion that you're overreacting. I will never tell you.
Okay. I was about to ask, because you know women, you can't tell me that I'm overreacting.
I'll tell you what I will do.
What?
I will ask, and I've done this before.
Okay.
I will say, do you think, and I've done this in a relationship where I said, do you think there's a chance that you're overreacting right now?
You sound like a therapist.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to connect. And we had a situation, and she was just very in her feelings. like she was known to be, and I understood that, and I love that about her.
Okay.
And I asked her, is there a chance that you're overreacting in this moment? And without hesitation, she said, yes.
Okay.
There's a chance that I'm overreacting, but I am upset. And I said, okay, be upset.
Yes.
Feel your feelings, get through them the way you need to. Do you want a resolution right now, or do you just want to vent? She's like, I just want to vent. I said, okay. I will not offer
So you
any
asked
answers.
the right questions.
Well, yes, because
you formulated it correctly, because if you were saying you're overreacting, you would get an overreaction.
Because that is diminishing people's feelings.
Absolutely.
And I don't want anybody to do that to me. You're overreacting. You can't tell me how to react. But if you were to tell me, Rashad, is there a chance? Like if we're dating and you were to say, Rashad, is there a chance you're overreacting? The personality I have, there's cause for pause. Am I overreacting? Maybe. There's a chance.
Yeah.
The thing is, I have no problem being wrong. I have no issue with saying, oh, I was wrong. Like if I have my opinion on something, I'm like, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I try not to speak on things I don't know what I'm talking about. I love being corrected if I'm incorrect. My ego is not involved in interacting with people. Okay. My ego is not involved in love. It will never be. Because if I need to be selfless to love you, but I need to be selfish to love me.
Okay.
So that's why I tell people. Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you. Thank you. I tell people, I acquiesce to you because I love you. I put my foot down because I love me. And as long as those two things don't, conflict with one another, we're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
There's a space that I like to exist in with my non-childless self. That I'm curious if you exist in this space as a plant parent. Can you give me the rundown on your children?
My children. I don't call them children.
What do you call them?
Because they're not children.
Oh, okay.
They're just my plants, and I'm their mom, I'm their caretaker, I guess you can say. You said the rundown?
Yeah, give me a rundown.
I love all kind of plants. However, I do think that, well, in a sense, as humans, we can be plants as well. We need to be nurtured.
Sure.
But I think in this point in my life, they're my happy space. But I enjoy providing a positive environment for them. And I think that's very important, being a plant parent. You have to know your capabilities, and you also have to know your environment. So yeah, I have all kind of plants. I have snake plants, philodendrons. I have some of those. I have, what's I have? I have fig trees. I have some pathos. I have all sorts of plants because it just depends on the day. Sometimes I need to uplift myself and I'll go purchase a plant. I think everybody should have, at least one plant. And again, you have to know your environment. If you're a person that isn't responsible enough to remember to water your plants, you might need a snake plant. You might need cacti are a little difficult, but you might need to start with a snake plant or something like that. So do you have any plants?
I have one. I don't know the breed or species or whatnot. It was actually a gift from my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she would come over and she'd be like, oh, you're watering him. And I'm just like, well, yeah, it's literally the bare minimum that I could do for something.
That's enough. That's enough.
And I enjoyed him. It was great. He didn't last, unfortunately. But
is it because the relationship ended, or you just?
If I'm being brutally honest with you, I think that's really what it was.
Yeah.
I think it stopped being.
You didn't care anymore.
I'm gonna tell you, the way my last relationship ended. If I'm transparent, it was my fault. But
why do you say it was your fault? If you don't mind me asking.
It was my fault because it's hard for me to defend myself because I would be going into her personal business. And I always said I would never do that, just rooted in the privacy of our relationship. There are things about her that the general public doesn't know. And like I said, to defend myself, I would be outing those things. And what I will say is there were plenty of times in our relationship. I'll give you, this is a good analogy. Let's say you and I are in a relationship and you, for whatever reason, come up and flick me on the arm just randomly. And it hurts. And I'm like, hey, Clairissa, please don't do that. And How about this? I don't even say anything to you about it, but you know you shouldn't be doing that. And let's say, how about this? Let's say I do say something to you about it. I say, hey, Clairissa, don't do that. But meanwhile, in my head, I'm like, she flicked me on the arm, and I don't know why she did that. And is this a person I want to be with? But I say, you know what? This is your person. Work through it on your own.
Yeah.
And then get past it. And I do. And then you do it again. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And these are just very light things, but they're very bothersome. But every time I work through it, and let's say 3 or 4 years go by, and in 3 or 4 years, you flick me on the arm so many times. And then one day I flick you on the arm. And then you say, this relationship is over with. I'd be like, yeah, that's my fault. But really? At that point, I didn't feel like the punishment fit the crime. And
because you dealt with that same behavior for so long.
And
worked through it.
It wasn't reciprocated.
Okay.
The staying power was not reciprocated.
Yeah.
The effort to say, this is my person, we're going to work through this, was not reciprocated.
Okay.
And I was happy that it happened before there was a marriage license, before we were living together.
Absolutely.
I have nothing negative to say about her because she was a great person. She deserves to be with a great person. I hope whoever she's with now or will eventually be with is good to her. But that relationship taught me a lot. It taught me about the idea of compromising yourself for people. Not in a vicious way. I didn't lose who I was in that relationship.
Yeah.
But you realize how much of yourself is not as free as you're accustomed to being. And then once you're out from underneath that, it sounds so bad because it wasn't a bad relationship.
Yeah.
But once you're out from underneath it, there is an exhale that you can have.
Yeah.
And you can take lessons from that and move forward and say, all right, I know what to do and what not to do. One lesson I learned is make sure your partner is past their previous trauma. You need to, because they'll think, oh, I'm over it. I'm past it. And then something can just trigger it. And it's not even about you doing the same thing as the other person. It's about, for whatever reason, you elicited the same emotion that the other person did. Now y'all are grouped together.
Yeah.
And that was problematic, but who knows? Maybe she'll think it over and then hit me up and be like, hey, I was thinking about it. But
maybe so. Would you be open?
No. I know what you're gonna ask me.
Okay.
I've already thought about that.
Yeah.
No. Because I was hurt by the way it happened.
Yeah.
I was hurt that, like I said, it wasn't reciprocated. I had a coworker, very few of my coworkers know my personal life. This one guy did know. And I told him what happened, and he said, so if she does come back, would you be open to? And I said, no.
Yeah.
I said, I had to accept this is something that I'm really good at now.
Yeah.
I had to accept that part of my life is over with.
Yeah.
And I have to move on.
Yeah. You have to appreciate that time and, move on from there. If you learned a lesson, you learned it.
Oh, for sure. And I learned a lot. But see, here's the thing, like you learn and then you're like, 3000 said it the best. I hope that you're the one. If not, you're the prototype. Okay, I know how this is supposed to feel. I know innately what instincts in me are dormant that are going to be active. And I need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think that that's something that unfortunately has to be taught, mindfulness.
Sure.
And not just in the aspect of being in tune with yourself, but also being mindful of others. A lot of people don't understand that this is a button for someone because you made it a button. It's not necessarily that I don't like it. I didn't like it in this particular aspect. Because, you all could be playing one day and you didn't mind the flick. But if you're in a different type of setting, this is when this, flick irritated me or, Yeah, I think we all have those moments where we excuse certain behavior and we allowed it to prolong. And then it just got to a point where we're just like, okay, I just learned I have to go in the other room, take a breath and come back and reset. But I think when you have that drive to see where things are going to go with a relationship, or sometimes you can want a relationship so bad that you do anything to make it work. I think that happens often as well. And sometimes you have to let stuff go. But
that's really what it was for me. Because like I use the flick analogy, but there were different things and so if it was the same behavior, I'd have been like, okay. But it was like different things where at the end of the day, I am not mad at her for setting a boundary. I'm not mad at her for I'm not mad at her for having a boundary and saying, hey, like I'm good.
Yeah.
I was very upset at the way decisions were made in the middle of feeling feelings. In the middle of having feelings, you made a decision. And there was this arbitrary, well, my hands are tied. No, they're not. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything that was irredeemable.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do anything. I even made the comment to her. I said, is there a chance that in 2 years, we're in our house with the 2 cars and the 2 dogs and 2 cats and 2 kids, and this is a footnote in our love story? And she like paused because I think, and I could be wrong, but I think she knew, is this really that serious? He didn't put his hands on me. Like, he didn't sleep with another woman.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't verbally abusive. It was a case where it's hard to go into it because I'd be telling her business on so many different levels.
Yeah.
But is this as malevolent as she was making it out to be? And I don't think she was in a space emotionally to be rational and to think and to listen.
Yeah.
So that's why I tried to wait and then talk to her later. But she had kind of had her mind made up.
Yeah. I was about to say, maybe she, from the beginning of the relationship, is not something that she can conceptualize with you. And sometimes it's not necessarily with you, particularly if someone is working on themselves and they don't have the necessary skills to, progress their relationship. I think a lot of times we're waiting on that one thing to say, this is it. I don't want to be in it anymore, and it's just like, until you do that one thing where I can uphold it and say, I actually have something that I don't want to be in this relationship with you anymore. You don't have anything, so you hang on. I think that's something that in one of my relationships, I think that was probably my longest running relationship. I had a person that he just kept saying, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I want to be with you. I know we're going to get married.
Do you?
I think sometimes people can't conceptualize it with you. If you don't see a future with someone, you're never going to be ready. And I think that's why a lot of people stay in a relationship so long, situationship so long, and then it turns into, the old people call it shacking up. And I guess the formal word is common law marriages, that we see nowadays. It turns into that, or it turns into someone proposed to the other person, and now we've been engaged for 6 years. You don't actually want to move forward with that person because I think you're already married to that person before you actually go to the courthouse or before you even propose. I've seen it so many times. My friends, shout out to them, John Quett and Quinn, they have the best relationships I've ever seen in my life. Outside of my parents, the best relationships. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to see that move on from college to adulthood. So you have both of my best friends. I'm pretty sure their husbands knew from the moment that they met them and got to know them that was going to be their person. And it didn't take long for them to move forward and do those things because in your head, you have to already be married to that person. So, of course, your values match, your personalities match. You have your ex and sometimes you might bump heads, but, this is a person that I want to be in life with. And I think you have to already conceptualize that in your head. And as women, I guess it's two-sided. As women, we 100% see that with that person. And then number 2, a lot of times we create it.
Sure.
This is the man that I want. So in my head, okay, we're going to get married. We're going to have a house over here. We're going to have this amount of kids. These are our kids' name. And you're forcing this narrative with that person and not understanding your values don't align. This person doesn't have a lot of attributes that you agree with. They're not a great listener. They don't have a lot of, they don't have that basic foundation around them. And by foundation, I say, those personal values within themselves, that manhood.
Mhm.
I want my husband to have manhood. You know,
Mhm.
some people around you that don't mind saying, hey, that's wrong. You know, you need to go back and think about that before you repeat that again. I want people around me that are like that. So I
Mhm.
think a lot of women should have that womanhood with them, and a lot of men should have that manhood with them. And I think those are some things that are missing today
Mhm.
in the multitude. However, there's little small, nuggets around us that
Mhm.
I think a lot of people do have it. And I think that gives a little hope. That gives a little hope.
I'll tell you, I think from the conversations her and I had,
Yeah.
I think you might be twofold in terms of being right. Because I think we did conceptualize like the idea of being together. Like we wanted the same things. We were alike in the ways that were very important.
Mm,
Um, but ultimately, this is just my opinion. I think she was being a little stubborn.
mm.
Um, and the kids, like I say, might say she stood on business. But I think it's a
What's
case
in the
of
business?
there is a difference when you're saying somebody is your person. There's a different level of attention you give every situation.
Mhm.
Is this? Can we not come back from this? And in my opinion, what happened totally could. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's so. It was weird because, like I said, I didn't think the punishment fit the crime to the point I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is how dismissive I was in my head at first. I was like, she's in her feelings. I'll talk to her later, and then she'll have a more rational way of thinking. It was like, no, and I forgot how stubborn she was.
Mm,
And I think it might take time for her. She even admitted that the feelings were fresh. And I'm just like, you can't make decisions in fresh feelings. It's not how
mm.
that works. But she decided to. And after seeing that, I was like, all right, cool. But like I said, she's a great person. And I
Yeah.
hope that whatever ends up happening with her is fantastic. Um, but it's not
That's
nearly
so big of you.
what? No, I mean, because I
I
can't
am the complete
lie.
opposite. I don't wish my exes anything. I
What,
don't.
did they slight you?
No, relationships just end for so many different reasons, and they just end. And I don't wish you anything. I don't wish you happiness. I don't wish you hell. I don't wish you anything. And I think and I say that all the time. Whenever someone says they wish their exes well, I always say that's so big of you, because I'm the opposite. I don't wish you anything.
I don't know if it's big of me because I need to be very clear about
Hmm.
something. I am a very petty person. I am a very,
See, I'm the opposite. I'm not
I'm
petty.
very petty. I'm very vengeful. I love people getting their
Yeah.
comeuppance. I'm very much even the score kind of person.
Really?
Oh, without question.
I'm not going to even the score. I'm going to move on, and then that's just going to be the end of it.
Oh,
I'm not going to unfollow you or anything. I want you to see my life.
oh, is it? That's where we're different. Well, it depends on what you did. Every situation is different. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, you don't deserve to have any type of inclination that I still exist. Block.
Mm,
But then there are people who's like, I'm gonna let you watch. Like, okay.
yeah.
But in a situation like hers, by all accounts and everything that happened, yeah, did I not like the way that uh she didn't extend the same courtesy to me that I extended her on countless occasions?
Yeah.
Of course I didn't like that. Um, does that exonerate me from any culpability? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what I say is I did something that ended the relationship because that
Mm,
is factually true.
okay. But did you
So
end up like a lot of your relationships? Did you end a
no,
lot
this
of
is the
them?
first time someone's ever broken up with me.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is the first time someone was just like, Rashad, I'm in this relationship with you. And I had a nice little streak going.
Yeah.
Like,
Now you keeping count.
yeah, I had a nice little streak going. I have never, who was that who said that? Little baby said that. Never had a woman say she done with me. I've never
Really?
had that happen. And that was the first time. And even,
I've said I'm so done with a lot of people. And it's just because it's certain emotions I do not like to feel.
mhm.
Disappointment and anger are the two emotions you never want to make me feel.
Ooh, what happens?
When you make me angry,
Ooh, tell me.
I become I become Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale.
It is trash.
I become her, or I'll become Lynn Whitfield in any movie.
All of them.
In all of
Yeah.
them. And those are just I don't like being that type of person. So
Sure.
if someone can push me there, I do not need to be around you. If someone can push me to the point where I'm so angry, I want to knock your head off, like I want to run you over, and I'm just saying these things. I haven't had those type of thoughts.
Thank God.
But I'm saying, thank God.
Mhm.
But I, have, thought about, Some other stuff.
Ooh, like what? Tell me.
Some other stuff, making you sick or, dropping some of your drink and now you got to go to the bathroom all day. That you might make me angry and I want to do that. So if I start feeling those things or I'm so angry where I might want to hit you, I'm a type of person, I'm not violent. So, if you're pushing me to a point where I'm having thoughts about doing those things, I don't need to be around you. And I think that sometimes I've allowed myself to sit in situations too long and it pushed me to a point where I started feeling those things. And so when I start feeling those things, I'm like, nah, I need to eject myself. It's time to leave. And like I said, I've never had anyone cheat on me, but I don't like to be lied to.
Sure.
I don't like to be gaslit. I don't like to have my feelings minimalized. I don't like any of those things. And I think those are things that women, sometimes we will put up with them until we get to a point where it's, we're at our wit's end. And I don't like to feel any of those things. So when a man does those things, and those things have been done in previous relationships, and I felt, okay, it's time to move on. It's hard sometimes because
sure.
I'm 100% a lover. When I say I love you for life. And to this day, I can look at the camera and say I still love all of my exes. And that's not a point where I love you where I would take you back.
So you still love them, but you don't wish them well.
Yeah. I don't wish them anything.
So you don't wish them well.
I don't wish them.
I'm not saying you don't wish them negative.
I don't wish you positive or negative. I don't think about it. I don't think about you.
It would be hard for me to say I love somebody and not wish them well in the rest of their life.
Well, I look at it from a point of, I believe love is a constant. It's a constant action. So I can't say I loved and put a D behind it because, loved, I feel like if it's in the past tense, then you never actually meant it. What's the script? God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He so loved the world that, this is something that it's a continuous action. If you believe in God, there's a constant action of love each day. There's mercy, there's blessings, there's, healing. Those different type of forms, they take place continuous. And so I think that love is a constant, it's something that is always going to be there. No matter if I cross paths with this person, I'm still going to love them in a sense where, if you fail, I'm going to help you up. If I pass by you.
Having love for them or loving them? Because this is why I asked that question.
What?
If you and I were in a relationship.
All right, let me hear it.
If you and I were in a relationship and I said, do you still love your ex? And you're just like, yeah, I still love him. That ain't nothing I want to hear. Now, if you still got love for him, I ain't mad at that.
But what is God love for them and love? I feel like that's the same thing.
No, they're not.
Okay, tell me how they're different.
I would venture to say, and obviously we're going to get into semantics here.
Yeah.
But I would venture to say, if I'm in a relationship with a woman and for whatever reason it doesn't work, I can be like, yeah, I got love for you, but I ain't, we can't be together.
I feel like
I love you because I don't feel the intensity of my love for someone. I understand the idea of present tense, but someone can do something to me to make me not love them anymore.
Yeah.
Because the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. So someone there's a woman walking this earth. I assume she's still alive. I don't know anything. I don't know where she's at. Maybe COVID got her. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's walking this earth. There was one point where I loved her and I legitimately would have worshiped the ground she walked on. And then without going into the long story, she did something very distasteful and she broke my trust and she really broke my heart, if I'm being honest. And we reconnected like a year later and I tried to rekindle that. It's like, maybe I'm tripping. And I remember her coming to my apartment, not this one, even though we're in a $22 million studio, not an apartment. When I remember her coming to my apartment and she was sitting next to me and I was just looking at her while she was talking.
Yeah.
And I was kind of zoning out because I'm just looking and I'm just like, man, I feel nothing. Like the love is not there anymore. So that's just a varying degree of the idea of, I understand what you're saying. Like, I'll consistently love them. Like that. This is why. Okay. Because when you say that, oh, I still love my ex, and then we're in a relationship, and you're like, well, I love you too. from a terminology standpoint.
And I'm going to add this in there. That's not a standpoint that I would ever say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I would never be in a relationship and say, oh yeah, I love my ex or anything like that. And I think it just comes down to, I feel like there's I think it's addiction problem. I think that a lot of people use love where it's lust. A lot of people use love where it's like. A lot of people use love where it's, you know, you adored this person and things like that. I think that when you have a certain understanding of what love is, you know, I'm not a person that tell everybody I love them, you know, and that's just, I'm very conscious of my feelings. I know how I feel about someone. I will say I like you all day. Do I love you? No. So, you know, I think that a lot of people need to understand, you know, the seriousness of what love is. I feel like when you love someone, you cannot take it back. It's a feeling that will be with you to the end, you know, of eternity. I don't know. It's something that will always be there. Just like, you know, you have the love of a mother. Even a mother that gave up her child, you know, she still loves her child, you know, for the rest of her life. That's something that she's always going to have, that type of bond. She's always going to have that love.
Absolutely.
So it has different forms. It takes different forms. Like, no, do I love them in a romantic way? No, like that's gone. But do I love them enough as I know who this person is? I know their capabilities. You know, I love that person, you know, like that feeling is always going to be there.
What you just described from interactions that I've had, that what you just described is not still, I love them. It's, I got love for you.
I got love. Okay, so we mean the same thing.
Right. Because here's the thing. If, like I said, if we're in a relationship, I don't want to hear you say the phrase, I still love my ex.
And it's not a phrase that I'm going to say because, you know, like they're not a thought.
But if I were to ask you, do you still love your ex? And you're like, yeah, I still love him. I'd be like, I'm speaking for me, and I told you I make a point not to try to speak for other men or other people in general. At least I try not to. Sometimes you can't help it. But I get what you're saying, that the love, you say you can't take it away.
No.
That's why you always say, I still got love for you.
But see, if I'm in a relationship and...
Wait, because I feel like I just assumed something and I need to clarify.
Okay.
Do you love everyone you've been in a relationship with?
No.
Okay.
No.
How many people have you loved? Well, let's not put a number on it. How often do you see yourself, I don't know how you're going to quantify this, how often do you see yourself loving the person you're in a relationship with?
Not often. I don't like a lot of people.
I'm talking about that you're in a relationship with. I would hope you would like people if you're in a relationship.
Even in a relationship, I've gotten to a point where, you know, it's a great friendship. It's a great situation. They're a great person. Do I love them? No. You know, do I like them? Yes. Do I care about them? Yes. But do I love them? No. So
there's nothing a person you're in a relationship could do to make you apathetic towards them if you love them. Once you realize I love you, there's nothing that they could do for, like I said, for you to become indifferent to them. Just like the example I gave you with the young lady. Love was there at one point.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at her like, I feel nothing. Wow, this is crazy. And I had never done that before. And I told this story, and I'm not going to tell the story again, when Avery was on the podcast. And I saw how I treated her after that love, after she broke my heart.
Yeah.
I treated her like she was nothing. Like I didn't treat her like, no, if I'm being honest, I treated her really poorly.
Yeah.
I didn't like who I was when I did that, because I knew at that point, she knew that she was wrong, that she had wronged me. She was trying to get back in my good graces, and she was willing to do anything to get back in my good graces. And I knew I feel nothing for you now. So to me, you don't go back to the default of just a woman that I don't know, but I'm going to respect your boundaries and your space, etc. You're a person that I have contempt for. Because I was so far on that end of the spectrum of loving you and doing whatever for you. Now what you did pretty much flipped me to the other side of just pure indifference and almost disdain. But we ain't talking about my issues. I do get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. And that's when I need to apologize to you.
Oh, no, you're absolutely fine. But in a relationship, if my man asks me that, I'm going to say, babe, I don't have any exes. What are you talking about?
Can I tell you something?
You are the only man that I have ever
I love that answer so much.
The only man I will ever love.
I'm going to tell you why I love that answer. Because there is a wrestler. His name is Cody Rhodes. I don't know if you ever heard of Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. Cody was on a podcast years ago. And I'm talking, this may have been, like 10 years ago. And he is married to Brandy Rhodes. I mean, their last name is not really Rhodes. But they were talking, and it was towards the end of the podcast. And the host was just like, Cody, who was your first kiss? And Cody said, my answer is not going to surprise anyone that is married. He said, I don't remember who my first kiss was, but my first true kiss was my wife.
There it is.
I said, Cody, God, he's such a good politician.
Great answer.
It's perfect.
Great answer,
It is the
Cody.
perfect answer.
Great answer, Cody.
And I said, yeah, let me write that one down.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Great answer, Cody.
And I'm going to tell you, if we were in a relationship and you told me, what are you talking about? I don't have any exes. I'd be like, he's trying to get me to put a baby in you. Okay.
That
it may or may not work.
It's prerequisites to that. It's prerequisites to that. It comes with a ring. It comes with marriage and full commitment. Like,
oh, of course.
I would never allow somebody to make me a baby mama. That might run me off.
No.
That might run me off.
I am, whenever I'm very clear on telling people that the ring comes first. I always say bands before babies.
Hello.
I will say that as I got older, before my late father, before he passed away, we would talk about it. And the question of me having children out of wedlock became, you know what? My father's not even the best example of this. My mother is. My mother was always, no.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't support myself for the longest. I could, but I was barely surviving. Now in the place that I am now, and with my sister being married and having children, and she kind of got that itch scratched of her having grandkids. Now she wants more. Now, if I say, hey, how would you feel if I like called you one day and like, hey, you know, so-and-so is pregnant? Her demeanor, the first time I asked that hypothetically, was so different. It was, well, is she a nice young lady? When that was never the question before. Oh, and the reason why my mother is like that now is because I'm just getting older.
Yeah.
And it's like,
she want that grandbaby.
Yeah. And so now,
it's like, well, I'll take it.
Yeah. She knows that for me, if I lay with a woman, she said this under no uncertain terms. She knows that if I lay with a woman and it's to the point where for whatever reason we are not protecting ourselves in the way that we need to be, or there's no effort of contraception, whatever, she knows that I wouldn't be reckless. And she knows that. She knows that I would never lay with a woman who is unsavory, or I didn't know what I was doing, or the risk involved of what I was doing. And my nephews are 7, and they're going to be 8 this year. They're going to be 8 in 2 months. Okay. I look at my watch; it shows the date too, so it's not like I'm just looking at the time. But they're 7, so now you have that age gap.
Yeah,
I would have to get a woman pregnant this second.
They would have a babysitter.
Oh, for sure.
They would have a babysitter.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because now you're talking about, let's say hypothetically, I have a kid in a year, hypothetically.
Yeah.
That'd be 18. They'd be 18 and 10. And they'd be full-grown adults with a 10-year-old. And it's like, that age gap is too big.
I don't look at all of that. And I think as a woman, people are like, oh, you're getting older. You can have a baby at any age. It's if you want it, you will have it. I like to say that you will have it if you want it. And I think with me, having a baby out of wedlock isn't necessarily how others would feel. I mentioned there's 2 emotions I don't like to feel. Disappointment is one. I would be so disappointed in myself if, I allowed someone to get me pregnant. Number one, I don't like anyone that much. That's one thing I have never allowed anyone to do. You're not shooting up anything up in me.
What? I can't shoot the club up? What are you talking about?
No, you cannot shoot the club up over here. And it's just like,
shucks.
People talk about contraception. You got condoms, you got the pull-out method, you got
That's for high schoolers, but go ahead.
That's for high schoolers.
Yeah.
You have birth control, and then now you can go get a pill if you think you accidentally dropped the seed in someone. I feel like there's only one way to not get someone pregnant, and that's not to allow someone to shoot up in you. If you don't shoot in me, what's the chances of me getting pregnant? You know, so it's just like I feel like that's such an honor. It's such an honor for me to carry someone's child.
Yo, let me tell you something.
It's an honor. People take it too lightly.
There is nothing wrong with you calling it an honor. And there are people who will hear you say that and it will befuddle them. And the fact is, I said this to the women in my family. I said, if I'm inducting you into the women of my family, it's like Hall of Fame. If I'm inducted,
go through a hazing period.
I'm gonna tell you, I legitimately feel this way. I legitimately feel like the woman who has my seed, who carries my seed, is one of the luckiest women on the planet.
Absolutely.
I legitimately feel that way. Because one, I'm crazy, but I'm not nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
we all have a level of insanity.
Thank you. I am a planner. I have foresight. I'm responsible.
That's a great qualities too.
Like I'm able to put things in front of me. I'm able to take things for what they are and not what I want them to be.
Yeah.
So the idea of, oh, you're carrying my child? Man, the Lord loves you. He most certainly does. God is good all the time.
All the time.
Because for me personally, I know who I am.
Yeah.
Intrinsically at my core, I know exactly who I am. I know the type of husband I'm going to be. I know the type of father I'm going to be.
Love that awareness.
And so, and it's awareness in a space where I have been dating a woman who told me, I love how self-aware you are, because we weren't exclusive.
Yeah.
And she was like, do you think we should be exclusive? And I said, I haven't done enough to earn being exclusive with you. And she was like, I'm so happy you're that self-aware. I'm just like, yeah, I've never been in a relationship where I've said this many times. I've never been in a relationship where a woman didn't submit to me. I've also never been in a relationship.
Really?
And it's never happened.
Wow.
I've never been in a relationship where I told a woman to submit to me either.
You shouldn't. You should never have to tell.
That's fucking weird.
It's natural. It should come natural.
It's weird to be like, hey, you need to submit to me. Every relationship I've ever been in my adult life, every single woman has submit to me and whatever that means to them.
Okay.
It's always been it's my actions. It's the way I carry myself. And I've been told this. It's not conjecture.
Yeah.
My actions, the way that I carry myself, they know that, oh, I'm on top of shit. Do you want to go out this weekend? Yeah, we can go out. All right, I'll make time. I'll give you a plan. Just what time are you free? Okay, I'll make a plan. I'll hit you back.
And you know what that is? When women feel secure, they have no problem with submitting. You know, a lot of men don't provide that security.
No. A lot of men expect it. I have friends who are like that. I have a close friend. He knows exactly who he is. And I'm going to get a text about this. I don't care. But there was a level of entitlement that he felt for a very long time about, I'm a man, so you should submit to me. And I would always ask him, why? What is it about you that makes a woman look at you and say, oh, yeah, sure. Like, what is it about you from a worldly standpoint that makes a woman look at you and say, oh, my husband, father of my children.
Yeah.
I was like, you haven't accomplished anything. And I'm not even talking about externally, internally. There's been nothing about you. And I told him because I've known him forever. There's been nothing about you that makes someone look at you and say, yeah, for sure. Like, lead me. For me personally, I've just never been in that space where I'm just like, hey, you need to submit to me, because it means different things to different people. But I just feel like having to say it. We said it off camera. If you got to say you're an alpha, you're not.
You're not.
You're just not that guy. You're just not. And I've met plenty of men when I've been networking with real estate, or when I've been, I don't want to say anything else. It sounds like a stealth brag. But when I've been doing a lot of meeting of people, I can parse very quickly. You're not an alpha male. You're a misogynist, or you're a bully.
Yeah.
And you pick and choose. Because if you really were an alpha, it wouldn't be, oh, I'm going to be like this with you, but I ain't going to be like this with you.
Yeah.
Like, if you really were a confrontational person, like, I'm very confrontational, very confrontational, and I'm very aggressive, and it's not violent.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm very quick to confront an issue at hand.
You have to have that assertion about yourself.
Yes. And it's made me successful,
Yeah.
especially when you know how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't lead with aggression in a violent sense. I lead with aggression in a, okay, let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Solution oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I can deduce pretty quickly, oh, you don't want a solution. You want to be upset.
Yeah.
At which point, even in a relationship, oh, you don't want a solution. You want to be upset. Cool. Let you do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll circle back. That company speak.
Mm.
We'll circle back and we'll touch base.
Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. I end every single podcast with 5 questions.
We have a timer? Like a game show.
This is what I will say. Try to keep them between 1 to 2 sentences if you can.
Okay.
But if you want to fully flesh them out, totally cool with that.
Okay.
It's based on who, what, where, when, and why.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's see.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Who gave you the best advice you've ever received?
Oh, who gave me the best advice I've ever received? My father.
What was it?
What was it? To always be true to myself. Yeah. Pretty much my dad is a man of few words, which is kind of a contradiction because he's a pastor.
Sure.
But when it comes to, like him sitting down and having conversations and things like that, he's kind of like, he can give you a story or he can give you a few one-liners. So it's a few things that, he speak. Yeah. You got to always be true to yourself. Always do what's best for you, so that's something that has always, lived with me for the rest of my life. And I love my dad. He's my favorite person. So yeah.
It sounds like my late father. He'll give you, I went through a breakup when I was 19 and I explained the whole thing. I was just crying because she cheated on me. I was crying. It was so bad. This was the PK. Yeah. I was crying. It was so bad. And he just listened to me. And I said, I still want to be with her. So maybe like after things have settled down, like we could try to work it out. And he just listened. He let me vent. And he stood up from the couch, straightened his shirt out. Son, you're no one's silver medal. And then walked out of the room. And I said, he's right. He was so good at that. So great.
I don't know. When you said that, I just thought about something.
Go ahead.
I guess there would be 2. That one from my dad. And the second one, very random, but it has also spoke to me for the rest of my life. I had a bus driver, Miss Judy Bone. When I was in the 10th grade, she said something to me and my sister. She said, you all are fine china. And what she meant was, you all are cream of the crop. Don't allow anyone to treat you any kind of way. And she said that after seeing something happen between, like another young lady. And she said that to me and my sister. That's something that has also spoke to me. You are fine china.
I love that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young, those things that stick with you. And it'll be the things that people don't know. I have brought up things that people have said to me. Like my homeboy, I've had a homeboy say something to me when I lived in my apartment before, not in the $22 million studio. When I lived there before in 2010 and when I got evicted and I went back to Decatur, I had to go live with my mom again. And I went around the corner to my homeboy's house, my best friend. And I was like, yeah, well, I guess I'm back in the neighborhood. And my friend has never talked to me like this ever. He said, yeah, we got to get you back downtown. I was like, what? And he said, man, there's nothing for you here. He said, you're better than us.
That's a true friend.
He said, you're better than all of us.
Yeah.
He said, you have skills that we do not have. And you have to be successful so you can create opportunities for us.
Absolutely.
And he was like, we got to get you back in Atlanta. And I remember just being like, wow, okay. And I still think about that every day. Him saying, you're better than us.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying it. My friend has a huge ego to this day, huge ego. But for him to break and lift that mask up and say, you're better than us. I don't even know if I necessarily agree with it because I don't know if that's for me to say. But that's always stuck with me. That and one time where we were trying to go to Kroger and we only had like $10 to our names collectively. And we just trying to get something to eat. And I was like, yeah, I could go buy a sandwich, but it'd be the last of my money. And he said, yeah, you should never go broke doing anything. And he's talking about a sandwich. But that, like, I apply that to business now.
Yeah, it's them one-liners.
If I have capital and I'm going to invest in a property, and for the sake of math, for the sake of I'll probably edit this number out. But if I have like, and I'm trying to be a percentage owner of a property, but it's my only, I won't even do the deal. Like, because it's not smart. It's my last of my money because I don't know what could happen. Or that's last of my money for real estate. I was like, because you don't want to go broke doing anything. And I still remember it. Anyway, this is not me. This is your fault.
No, that's really good nuggets. Thank you for sharing that.
What do you know well enough that you can teach an advanced class on it?
What do I know well enough that I can teach an advanced class on it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. That is a loaded question. I can definitely teach people how to advocate for themselves. That's one, because I think no matter what demographic you're in, you know, what socioeconomic status you are, you should be able to advocate for yourself in any situation. So that's something I can definitely teach people. That's one. Confidence, as well as dang, this is such a loaded question because what do I teach? Oh my gosh. I feel like, okay, I say that's a loaded question because I'm more so, I believe in mirroring behavior. I think the best way to teach people is by mirroring the behavior. So if I am the example, you're naturally going to pick things up from me.
Sure.
So if I'm a clean person, you're naturally probably going to pick that up. If I'm a person that is well-spoken, you'll probably pick it up. If I'm a wordsmith, you'll pick up a few words from me, you know, things like that. So I think the best way for people to learn is from watching the example. So by me leading, I think that is the best thing that I can do to teach anybody. So you asking me that question, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I really don't know because I'm not a teacher. I'm a doer, you know? So it's probably why I never gone into teaching. Like I don't want to teach it. I want you to watch me and then, you know, you follow suit. So yeah. But if I had to, those would probably be some things that I could.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of got a sneak preview of the next question.
Okay.
Where do you feel the most confident?
Where? I think it's not necessarily where, it's more so when. I feel my most confident self when I'm in a relationship. Because I think it's nothing better than feeling secure within your relationship and having your person, you know, that can, you know, like push you, inspire you, you know, and also just stick beside you. You have that person that knows like, hey, today was tough, you know, you mind listening, and they naturally, you know, just, you know, hey, tomorrow will be a better day. You know, even if it's something small, you know, even if it's something small, because, you know, men don't always, you know, formalize their words. They'll just hit us with a one-liner. And like, well, it's going to be all right. A little back rub, or, you know, go buy me some flowers, something simple. I don't know. But yeah, I feel it's not where, it's when. I feel my most confident self when I'm in a relationship. But I do feel like I'm always confident wherever I am. Yeah. But I feel my most confident
when you're in a relationship.
When I'm in a relationship.
All right. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for the most?
When I die, what do I want to be remembered for the most? Probably my stewardship.
Okay.
The things I've done for the community, to whether it's my church, whether it's my job, whether it's my own neighborhood, the things that I have done, you know, that have helped in a sense further the advancement of the people. I hate saying that as a Black person, but I feel like that is the duty of men, you know, to like not only be my best self, but, you know, mirror my best self so that someone else can see that and say, hey, I can do that too. And, you know, do it. And then it continuously grow and grow and grow from there. So, you know, 1,000,000 Clarissas from one. You know, that's something that I hope people would pick that up. Yeah.
I love it. So good. And the last one.
Okay.
Why are you here?
Why am I here? Because you invited me.
You know, I'm going to tell you, I love that question because some people take it as just this existential, why are you here? Like, on this planet? Well, my purpose is
I'm real direct.
And then most people just take it like, Corey, I think Eric said the same thing. I think Raven said the same thing. Well, because you invited me. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Clairissa.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so grateful for you. This is legitimately the longest one I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
Even the test run with my best friend, the one who said you're better than us, that was a test run that I knew I was never going to post. And that was back in 2019. This is longer than that one.
Oh, wow.
Now, mind you, a lot of stuff is going to get cut from this one.
Okay.
Mostly the relationship stuff,
yeah.
the 50-50 stuff. Especially, we'll cut some stuff out. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful for you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I don't want to mess up the nails.
You can't.
As I always say, thank you and keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right.